To milk an almond, a nut, or any amount of oat product, really you can make a milk out of anything. If I've learned one thing from the alternative milk industry, the answer to Mr. Falker's question is yeah, you probably can milk it. Welcome back to Privy. Privy is a podcast about bathrooms, recorded from my home bathroom. I'm your host, Hunter Hoover, and I love bathrooms. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for being here, and welcome to the month of June. If you're like me, for those of us who live here in these United States, June, it kind of carries this strange looming presence in our calendar year. Not because June's bad, it's nice out, the sun's starting to be out, but then you'll still get these moments like today where it rained and you just get that smell of spring rain. It's great. Everyone's getting psyched for summer and the fun and festivities that happen therein, but there is all of a sudden this strange and unexplainable splash of color that pops up everywhere. You get on social media and then there's just like new color where there didn't used to be. And you're just driving down the road and all of a sudden people have a strange color on their front yard that they didn't used to have. And you go to the store and you just kind of feel like there's this colorful tidal wave that is washed over everything that you see. At least that's my experience. I live here in the Pacific Northwest in, I would say, Portland's backyard. Yeah. And there's color over everything. It's in people's hair. It's on their dogs. It's absolute chaos, the colors that pop up in June. Recently at the school I work at, they did a homegoing week a couple weeks back, and they decorated the hallways, and most of them did a pretty good job. Like fantastic showing. And one of the hallways was just straight up Trolls themed. And the way that they leaned into that theme was by just making the whole thing just like outrightly colorful, if you will. And then I'm just saying, if that hallway had existed just a couple weeks later into our calendar, it would have fit in perfectly, all those colors, with what so many have come to associate with the month of June. And it's really unfortunate. Because that's not what June's about. I don't know what June's about, but it's not about that. We don't need silly celebrations for things that people think and feel. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's sad and frankly silly. And most of the time when you're trying to make a month or a recognition out of something, it's to raise awareness or like raise money. But like people are pretty aware. And so I think it's really just a celebration. But like if other people force their celebrations onto someone, then like that's wrong. But like if other people force their celebrations onto people, like usually that's not like celebrated or whatever. I don't know. It's strange. June seems to be the exception wherein we force very color themed celebrations onto groups of people that just don't really care that much. And I thought about this, and there was this temptation to sit back and complain like some brown-coated fuddy-duddy about how people choose to celebrate things, and that's fine, but then like if they want to force all that stuff on other people, it's really stupid. Or I can try to shift the focus onto something that I believe is even more worthwhile and maybe is a good thing to try to win back the month of June in many ways. Little did I know when I set out working on programming for the month of June here on the Privy Cast podcast about bathrooms that I was going to land myself in an absolute gold mine, an absolute brown pile of June-themed goodies. Because it turns out the month of June, all along, we just never knew it. We've been hiding behind some strange coat with just all of these like colored array this whole time. When little did we know that June is actually National Dairy Month. If If you're like me, you can get excited for some dairy. I love dairy. Dairy is very good. That's why I am shaped the way that I am. Cheese is delicious. Ice cream is so good. You get the idea. And it makes me wonder, how did I, an unashamed bathroom and dairy enthusiast, not know that the month of June is National Dairy Month? Because unlike the rainbow-encrusted counterpart that people try to force down everybody's neck during the month, National Dairy Month has actually been around a long time. There's a actual significant amount of history behind it. One thing's for sure, cows produce milk. And they've been producing milk pretty much as long as they've been cows. They've for sure been producing milk in America since before America was America. And while cows were brought to the American continent as early as Christopher Columbus's second expeditionary voyage, they were not introduced to parts of the continent that would be the United States until sometime in the 1600s. There is record of cows in the Jamestown colonies. This is usually by ways of the reference to a local dairy farmer. The cows aren't mentioned as specific as the local dairy farmer is. It was 1624 when this was written, and the first cows were recognized as being brought to this new world. This was in the Plymouth colony, and it was noted by Edward Winslow, who had 3 heifers and a bull. The makings of a ranch, if you will. In turn, he would have generational cows and cattle. Most of these were for personal and or local use. Many people would benefit from a local dairyman. If you have cows will sell milk or give milk, depending on how people are doing. But most of these cows went to supply for Edward Winslow and his family's personal use, as well as local people could buy and trade Winslow for dairy products nearby where they live. It's a source of income, as well as nutrients as they began a new life in the Americas. While you might buy milk or other cow products from a local farm or dairy, this milk and dairy products were still very localized. Like, milk spoiled. Refrigeration technology was less than advanced, if existent at all, really relying on storing in ice or some sort of body of cold water. Yesterday's milk might very well be today's butter, or in time, cheese. As time went on, the need to preserve milk so it would not go to waste kind of became a central concern for many dairy farmers. Early colonial settlers practiced European methods of cheese making so as not to allow as much as the dairy to go to waste. In fact, the cattle and the products which resulted from it were of such quality in the Americas that there was actually a minor demand on some of these products back in England. These dairy products, and this didn't happen often, but some of these were some of the earliest exports back to the European continent. And it says something about American cheese. I know people say it's plastic, but it's got to be pretty good since Europe's paying a pretty penny over the cheese that they're making there. It wasn't a major export, but it existed nonetheless. Dairies in the U.S. remained, for the most part, mostly local for 100+ years. That all changed during the Industrial Revolution. It turned localized dairy farming and cattle raising into a more automated and efficient money-making system. It industrialized the process of slurping milk out of a cow and turning it into cheese and whatnot. Advancements in refrigeration allowed the products that are harvested and or made from that dairy to be kept without spoiling longer. The first regular shipment of milk was sent via the railway system from Orange County to New York City in 1841. This was a feat since the refrigeration and pasteurization methods are not what they are today. At the time, the process and methods of pasteurizing milk and other products to kill bacteria to help them stop spoiling and keep the bacteria from developing. That process was new, and though similar to what we have today, not maybe as effective. We could say that it was not as effective because the amount of oversight that existed to make sure it was done right was not in place. This pasteurizing system, coupled with machinery which actually interfaced with the cows, such as milking machines and automated feeding systems, helped increase the amount of production on dairy farms, specifically milk. Should be noted, a lot of times the conditions for the cows and other animals in these highly industrialized farm situations were not best. As money could be made, the feeding, breeding, harvesting, and killing of animals took a precedent sometimes over the quality of life some of those animals faced. Machines such as the automatic bottle filler, the bottle capper, the centrifugal machine to make butter and cream, pasteurizing machines, and just basic increase in science to determine the fat content of the milk grew and developed at this time. Over the course of the next 100 years, moving into the 1900s, developments in nutrition, packaging, and farm as well as distribution continued to expand to give us the milk that we know today. It's undergone a lot from the olden days of milking cows in the backyard. But there's two things which developed alongside the milk production, milk harvesting, milk bottling, and milk selling coming out of the 18 and into the 1900s. One of those things is the marketing that surrounded milk and dairy. The other is the poop produced by an ever-growing dairy industry. The marketing related to dairy and milk products, we got to get into this. When we discuss the growth of the dairy industry in the United States, especially as we do so from the angle of it being National Dairy Month here in the month of June, we must discuss some of the various marketing campaigns which have been used to sell that sweet, sweet cow juice. To track this, I think what's going to be most interesting is for us to work backwards from the present day. So we're going to start with today and move backwards on the timeline of the dairy industry's marketing strategies for their sweet cow juice. Much of modern day dairy industry's advertisements and marketing is aimed at addressing and even calling into question the growing trends surrounding nut and oat milks. I gotta say, the notion, or maybe just the statement nut milk, is bad. It evokes a specific idea, I would say. And if you don't know, pretty much how nut and oat milks are made, because almonds and other things don't have mammary glands, that's like the boob, and nipples. So to answer the Fokker father-in-law, you cannot milk an almond, yet we have almond milk. Rather, to milk an almond, a nut, or any amount of oat product, really you can make a milk out of anything. If I've learned one thing from the alternative milk industry, the answer to Mr. Fokker's question is, yeah, you probably can milk it. Like, I can make nasty old 3-day sock milk. It's going to be gross. It's going to be foul, but I can do it based on the methods used to produce oat and other substitutionary milk. To make them, you can't milk those things, but you do soak the nuts or whatever the product is in water or other mixtures, usually a water base, and then you squeeze the nut bag. Squeezing the nut bag's not really something that you'd think that you'd say too often. but you squeeze the nut bag to squish the juice out, milking the nut, if you will. A lot of the dairy branding and propaganda of today is to draw attention away from alternative milks back onto the genuineness and health benefits of, quote, real milk. Much of this work is done by a group called Milk Pep, PEP. The PEP in Milk Pep is the Processor Education Program, and they are funded by milk companies that work to both have oversight of the milk production as well as drive sales to the dairy industry. Milk Pep launched the Got Milk campaign in the 1990s. More on that in a moment. This time, they've revamped that campaign and aimed it at a chronically online influencer following generation. The Got Milk campaign actually closed in 2014 after it failed to drive milk sales. The 20-year-long campaign, still run by Milk Pep, was most known for the milk-mustached celebrities asking if you had got milk, brother. I saw it saw declines and changes of opinion related to health. Like, yeah, famous movie stars and whatever are drinking lots of milk, but like, what's the health benefits? Like, maybe it'll make me cooler, but it does seem to make my tummy explode. So like, what's up with that? And so people began to choose those nut, soy, and oat milk alternatives along with diet and low sugar sodas. From 2014 to 2019, in the interim, they switched from the Got Milk campaign to the Milk Life campaign, which was supposed to help milk seem real milk, quote unquote, not squishy nut milk, seem like a healthy option to consumers. In fact, this current Milk Pep has been in place since the 1990s and has been influential in steering the dairy market and marketing around selling milk. Prior to the PEP, the National Dairy Board played a role in directing the marketing of milk and dairy in the United States. In the 1980s, the National Dairy Board hired an advertising company named McCann Erickson, who made the, quote, milk, it does a body good campaign. In it, the health and strengthening benefits of milk were highlighted. The campaign ended, however, as we said, in 1994, when Milk Pep began its Got Milk campaign. Because it turns out the milk, it does a body good, people knew milk was good for them, but that didn't make them want to buy it. People know that stuff is good for them, but it doesn't make them do it or want to buy it. I know logically that pizza multiple times a week is probably bad for me, but would I do it? Absolutely. Have I ever done it? I'm not telling. Prior to the National Dairy Board's It Does a Body Good campaign, the primary tools used for advertising and marketing milk were print and radio. There was a new technology which kicked off in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. One that put advertising campaigns, boom, right in everybody's front room or next to their kitchen so they can watch from the table, just like Back to the Future taught us. The television set. Early advertisers included paid ads, as well as sponsoring TV programs outright, giving the show money to be made to have them talk about and feature milk in a positive way. It's healthy and cool. Your favorite characters from the show are drinking it every night. One of the most popular examples of this is the American Dairy Association, who was one of the leading directors of things for the dairy industry in the U.S. at the time, who sponsored the TV show Ozzie and Harriet. The goal was to promote milk and other dairy products through advertising. The American Dairy Association was founded in 1940 by dairy farmers with the goal of boosting dairy consumption. It still operates today and works alongside some of the groups who have sought to create dairy marketing. We've just mentioned those. The 1940s was essentially the beginning of milk advertising as well. Spurred on by FDR's New Deal and the work of the Works Progress Administration, milk advertising in departments of health were the targets of much of their work. The goal is, again, to increase consumer demand for the sweet, delicious cow juice and to deal with surpluses farmers faced as public opinion of the cow drank went down. Other drink options had caught up with them out of the 1800s and into the early 1900s. Milk and water were not the two main primary selections in the 1900s anymore. And as we move out of the 1920s and into the 30s and 40s, well, you had to vie for the people's money against things such as soda, new juices, and other new products that were hitting America due to globalization and the industrialization process. To do so, this whole thing was kicked off in 1937 to address these concerns with the creation of National Milk Month. National Milk Month was created to promote drinking milk to U.S. consumers to deal with the surpluses that they were experiencing at the time. National Milk Month didn't last long, however, because the National Dairy Council changed it to be National Dairy Month. They named officially June as National Dairy Month to deal with many of the surpluses of milk, which seemed to be a problem in the months of June and July. We're almost a full century from the beginnings of National Dairy Month, and while there have been a number of marketing campaigns thrown at the American public throughout all that time, one thing is clear. Dairy farmers must sell the cow juice, and they will need to make the cow juice desirable to the American public to do so. It's curious, really, how often we've spent trying to make cow juice desirable to the American public. Oh, cow juice, you're just not as desirable all on your own. Got milk, real milk. Dairy farmers just want you to drink the dang milk. Well, there's been much output to get people to consume milk and in turn growing need to produce that milk. All those cows and all that production has a different output. One that, while most of the American public probably would prefer not to think about or engage with it, we here on Privy think primarily about it as a natural byproduct. National Dairy Month. Cow manure. Cows, like all things that eat, poop. And healthy cows, it turns out, poop a lot. That means I'm healthy. In fact, it is estimated that a single cow produces 65 pounds. Metric? No. That was wild. 65 pounds of poop every single day. It's a staggering number. I think it's one of those things which, if you were asked how much the poop of an animal in a day weighs, you would be perpetually shocked by the sheer weight and volume that these animals are putting out. In fact, I'm gonna go get over here and just do a little Google search to see what the internet finds for us. Let's see. How much weight does an elephant poop per day? Let's see what it says. Elephant. No, we don't want AI. Frig off all that. Okay, so this is brought to you by the website Elephant Parade. It says about 220 pounds of poo every day, the elephant. That's like more than me, surprisingly. They're literally pooping a me-sized log every day. It's wild. 220 pounds of poop. How much weight? Let's go something a little smaller. Let's go. Oh, let's do a fish. Let's do a shark. Shark poop. Varies on species. Nobody cares about that. It's hard to tell because if in the water, I don't know. It's harder. We'll have to figure that out. How much do sharks poop? Do sharks poop? Sharks poop. Yeah, sharks poop. It's a stupid question. They eat food. Of course they poop. Yeah. But 65 pounds of cow poop every day per cow. It's staggering. And even if you use the metric of the earliest dairy farmers we have on record in the Americas, owning 3 cattle in total is approaching 200 pounds of cow manure every day. It's a lot. The question is, what do you do with all this poop? This is a tale as old as time. When we've talked about, pretty much any time we've talked about what we do with our skeet, the question is, what do we do with poop when it's out of the body is like one of the chief concerns of man. When we had Mr. Troy Hale on talking about his documentaries, it was a chief question raised by his documentary. Like, what do we do with all this poo? Talked about fertilizer a year ago or so. And it came as no shocker to anyone to hear that the relationship between fertilizer and poop is, for much of the history of the world, a complete Venn diagram circle overlap. Poo is fertilizer. Cow poop would be spread on local fields and pasture lands because it's good for the plants, and the cows eat the plants. And I can hear the Lion King song being keyed up in the "It's the circle of life." Okay. But in tough times, people would often resort times are tough. I ain't got as many Minecraft chopped trees to go around. They would actually burn cow poop for fuel. When dried, it actually does an okay job as a fire starter. It's a stinky fire starter, but it's a fire starter nonetheless. As the dairy farms became more industrialized and had higher productions, they got more cows be eating, more cows be pooping. Coming out of the age, there was a higher demand for milk. See the aforementioned marketing. All that commercializing the dairy industry served to produce a commercialized amount of cow crap. So where are they going to put it? Simply trying to reuse the manure as fertilizer by spreading it on local farms is no longer feasible. There's not enough farmland. There's not enough local pasture land. You're going to be up to your neck in cow skeet. You're not going to be able to move the cow poop fast enough. And so often what they did in this industrialized time is they just left it. They cut their losses and they left it hoping for the best. And when it comes to poop, leaving it and hoping for the best is never the best. If you shaz in a toilet, universally true, all humans or whatever is out there, happy June. If you drop a scat royale in a toilet, don't leave it. Leaving it is never the correct answer. It must be dealt with. You cannot leave poop undealt with. It's just a bad thing. But they thought, well, we'll just leave this. It'll be cost effective. But this obviously led to problems of illness and disease in the cow population. And when the cows be dying, they be producing less milk and dairy. It's a problem. This was one moment in our history where regulation actually helped everybody out. Most of the time, regulation's a load of hogwash. We regulate things that don't need regulated. That's all I'm going to say about that. And while most reputable farms and dairies never treated and left cows in unhealthy conditions, many industrialized dairy centers did. Not being able to remove the cow poop fast enough resulted in cutting your losses. In time, developments in technology helped the cleanliness of these large-scale dairies and the efficiency of the fertilizing aspects of the manure produced. Much of the manure in these later developed and industrialized farms operates on a system of making what I like to call a cow turd slurry. Water is added to the mix, and it washes out from where the cows are to be manipulated for further use. First, there became a growing market for fertilizers. This caused research and development and most efficient composting, mixing the manure with other plant material for maximum effect. Turns out these dairy cows and these dairy farms found a second source of maximized income, a natural product that was there all along. With these new large-scale farms and industrialized farms, cow poop is washed into a closed-loop anaerobic tank where the organic material, that's poop, is broken down. This produces methane gas, which is captured and used to produce electricity or heat, often to be used directly by the farm or facility to power its day-to-day functions. No part goes to waste. Other farms, once the organic material is broken down, take the dried out physical portions of the manure and mix it with other dried products for cow bedding on the farms. They've removed all the bacteria, and what's left is like dried processed hay. We talked back on our toilet paper episode how they're actually making toilet paper out of like bamboo poop, like the pandas or whatever, like eating the bamboo and then they're pooping it out and they're taking the fiber that comes from that. We even had some of that toilet paper and it was fine. Turns out once you process the poo, it's not so bad. Take that dried physical portions of the manure and mix it with other products to be used on the farm. The liquid portions of the cow poo slurry are filtered to a degree and used to water crops. Depending on the scale and scope of the farm, it directly impacts the amount of access they have to the tools of the trade for harnessing the power, not only of the dairy cow's beautiful milk juice, but of the poo that is produced by their butthole. Mega dairies, which when I hear, all I can think of is mega churches, mega dairies have systems which break down the manure at a chemical level and resaturate the soil through the nutrients they retrieve from the broken down cow poo. That's science to say there's very good rocks in the cow poo. And if we do enough science to the cow poo, we can get the good rocks out of it for the dirt. Sometimes they can't use it as quick as they need. Manure pits will be dug to store large amounts of manure. I like the idea of a manure pit. Mostly, I like the thought of someone accidentally falling into it or like driving a car into a manure pit. It's funny. It's very good. I think that might be possibly where the turn of phrase crap hole comes from. Maybe. It's hard to tell. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Privy. Thank you for celebrating National Dairy Month with us. Check us next time as we continue to talk about another facet of the dairy industry as it relates to the bathroom. We've got Privy merch. You can check it out. There's a link in the description, and you can find it at privy-cast.com/store. We have some new freedom-themed 4th of July anticipated Pooping in the Free World t-shirts for you and your kids. You can go see those on there. Order them. They should get there in time for your 4th of July celebrations. Thank you so much for supporting the show in that way. You can also support the show by leaving us a rating and review. The 5-star options are preferred, and any ratings and review you leave will donate some money to Wounded Warriors and Living Water International. As a reminder to keep pooping in the free world, that free world was not always free, and in pursuit of cleaner water for all. Not everybody has it, but everybody should. I will say we're up to just 18 ratings on Apple Podcasts, which is not nothing. Please go leave those ratings. It helps people find it. And we're going to continue to, as they are left, read out different ratings and things that are left on the show. You can leave us a written review and we'll bump that up Helps everyone find the show. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on social media at PrivyCast. You can follow me. I'm at Owlet7. Go check out what we got going on over there. Follow the Facebook group, the Little Stinkers Facebook group. It's got a new logo. He's pretty fun. And join the Little Stinkers over there. Share the show with a friend. Do all those things. Thank you to Kevin and Poddington for the use of your music this week. You can find links to all the music that we used in the ding dong down below. This brings us to the end of another episode of Privy. Keep pooping in the free world. Own your stank. Make sure you slurp down a big fat milkshake for National Dairy Month. And now, as always, don't forget to flush.